Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget in the ATM, and today is April 14th, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to get right into some questions that I see are posted on the events page already. So I appreciate those of you that have posted questions early. That always makes my job easier. But a couple quick things I wanted to discuss. Brian asked me to talk about briefly. He posted in the Facebook group recently, and also I believe on the university, the Gadget University website, that people are having issues with their email addresses, and so he recommends using Yahoo, I think, or Gmail. I just personally, I would stick with Gmail, guys. Like, that's pretty much industry standard now. But you can create a Gmail address specifically for your ATM account, and that's what I've done as well. That way I have, like mine's, name.atm@gmail.com. Okay. And the reason you should do that is because it keeps everything in just one location. And if you keep that email account clean with nothing other than notifications from the ATM, it just keeps everything organized. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to manage the builds, especially if you're, well, in my case, I've got builders now, virtual assistants building sites for me. And because they're building so many sites, it just keeps all the notifications in one account. So I recommend that you do that. Just go create a new Google account, a new Gmail account, use that to connect to the ATM as your account email, and then all your notifications will go there, and it just makes it simple for you to keep all the notifications in one location. And with Gmail, we know that they're being delivered. If you try using other sources like Outlook and things like that, some of the emails aren't being delivered. And then there's support issues raised and all that. And the way to fix it is just create a Gmail account specific for that. That's my 2 cents on it. So something else is, I know that there was another post that Brian just posted this morning about project supremacy and structured data. Look, guys, Dawn is working on adding the ability to add structured data or schema.org, microdata to the actual builds on the front end, which in my opinion is a much better method than trying to use a plugin, because with structured data, if he can code on the front end when we're building our shaker or our building the content pages out inside of the ATM, if he fixes it or codes it so that we can add in our short codes and still get structured data hard coded on every single page when the site is built, that is a much better way to do it, in my opinion. And so we had actually talked about that a few weeks ago. Brian and Dawn and I talked about that, and said that's probably the best way to go, because that way we're not dependent on a plugin. It would just be hard coded up front. So, and I think that's probably less resource intensive anyways on the servers than it is to use a plugin to do that. So that, just so you guys know, that's something that is coming. He's working on that. I'm actually pretty damn excited about that when it comes out, because that's going to give us a huge advantage over some of the other programs out there that do, that try to do the same thing that the Lead Gadget and the ATM does. Having the structured data capability is going to be pretty impressive. So I'm looking forward to that. So just be aware of those changes coming. They're coming in the next few weeks. All right. That said, I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen, because I know we got some questions, a lot of them coming from Steve Marks. We're going to get right into those. Okay. Steve says, Bradley, per your training videos from October and November 2015 regarding the Ring Partner statewide build, if I'm doing a statewide build, would a local number be better, or have you seen the same amount of calls using a toll-free number, or does it even matter? Steve, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I haven't tested it with local numbers, only because I'm not going to go out and spend money on my own local numbers for the Ring Partner sites. I do that for like local clients. Obviously I'll use my virtual number so I can track how many calls are coming through. But I haven't tested the difference between 800 numbers and local numbers. So, because I'm just not going out and purchasing virtual numbers for Ring Partner sites. I don't know if it would perform better, because I haven't tested it. It's something you can test, Steve. Just set up one statewide build. Set up 2 sites, right? Use the same piece of content. So recycle the piece of content from one site to the next. Use similar domains, and and then build out both sites and see which one starts producing more calls. You should be able to track that, right? So use the 800 number on one site and then use a local number on another and test it and see which, see which one's performing better. If you're using the same piece of content and two similar domains, meaning like two XYZ domains, for example, or .coms or whatever, just make sure that they're somewhat similar domains. Then you remove pretty much other variables and you should be able to isolate whether one is converting better or producing more calls than the other. Obviously there might be some slight differences in how each site is performing, but if you can assume that they're performing similarly, then you should be able to determine whether a local number or an 800 number is producing more calls or generating more calls. All right. And that's something that if you test that and you see some pretty substantial differences, it'd be worth going with a broader test. In other words, testing again across a couple other potential sites or domains to see if you can produce the same results. That makes sense, to kind of confirm your data from the initial test. And if that's the case, share that with us if you do set up a test like that. I have not done that, but that would be interesting to see. Steve says, can you go through how to research an expired domain? Excuse me, to make sure it has good metrics, along with checking to make sure there are no penalties associated with the domain. Thanks. All right, Steve. Yeah, I've got the domain list from Blue Chip Backlinks. This was from the end of March right here. We're just going to pick one at random. Let's see. We'll go over here, and I believe the column. Let's see, topical trust flow right here. Column M is topical trust flow 0. Topic 0, which means this is the most predominant topical trust flow topic. So let's just say that we were going to do something for, let's see, we probably have to remove just a minute. Let's walk through this. This is the download list from Blue Chip Backlinks for the trust flow 10 plus domains. But now what I want to do is come over here and sort by this column. All right, so let's say I was going to build a site for, I don't know, plumbers. I would want to come down to business, construction, and maintenance, most likely. Going to be in this category, so I'd start over here, and let's just pick one. I don't know, termite control today. Even though that one's hyphenated, let's use that one. So what I would do is go over to Majestic, and I would take a look at the domain itself. This one's showing 14 trust flow. You can see the topical trust flow topic 0 is always going to be the very first. That's the first category of topical trust flow. That's why I always sort by topical trust flow topic 0. Okay, because that's the one that's given the most weight. Okay, so anyways, you can see that this has got decent metrics for just one referring domain. So that means there's only one domain actually linking to this. But that's all I care about, guys. Especially what's interesting is, like, we'll take a look at this in a minute. It's saying deleted, but this domain will perform better 99% of the time than a brand new domain. And the reason why is because it's aged, number one, and even though it only has one backlink, it's on target for the topical trust flow that, the topic, the relevancy is there, right? Even if it's not 100% relevant to what we are going to build the site on, excuse me, that still gives you an advantage. Now, obviously, it would be best if we were going to use this for a pest control business, I'm sure, right? And in fact, it probably would, because I could build out a pest control ring partner site for that, right? Or a local client or whatever. But let's go take a look at the actual backlink itself. It's saying deleted over here, but let's go check it over here. Backlinks. If we say hide deleted, it's going to say 0. No, it's still there. Okay. So what I would do is just go click on this backlink and take a look at it. Close this down. And this is just a links page, so it's probably on here. We could do a Control F and find it, I'm sure. Yeah, right there, termite control today. And you can see that this page itself it's got a 56 domain authority for the domain. I use this little plugin here for Majestic, and this shows that the trust flow of this page is 35. And that's why we're getting 14 trust flow out of just one backlink, because it's got a 35 going to this page. So that's just something I look at. Obviously, I prefer to find domains that have at least 3 referring domains linking to them. But you know, sometimes I'll buy them with just one. So this one is kind of not a great example on how to research. We'll look at a couple more here to show you what else I'm looking for. But this one most likely would be a good one, because it looks like it's only one backlink that I had to research, and that's this one. And it's coming from, which is interesting. Isn't that like a pest control technology? So it's coming from relevant source. It's got good metrics from coming through on just that one link. This would be good for a potentially for a pest control website. Now, the other thing is, I can't check for potential penalties. There's no way for me to do that. The only way to be able to check for that is by, oops, and I didn't mean to do that. Okay. The only way to check for a potential penalty is to check to see if it's indexed. However, if it's been a expired domain for any amount of time, then it's probably going to return no results. So if you're buying domains that were recently expired or recently dropped, then there's probably indexed results, and that's how you can check to see if the site's been penalized or not. But when I'm using blue chip backlinks, like pretty much 9 out of 10 times, the domains will have been expired for some time, which means that the pages that had been indexed have most likely fallen out of the index, which means there's no way to tell whether it's penalized or not. The only way to tell is, or to take an educated guess, is to look at the domain metrics, look at the Wayback Machine, which we'll look at here in just a moment, and see if there's any telltale signs of it being a spammed domain at some point recently in its recent history. Okay, and we'll take a look at that, because, like I said, if we go over to Firefox, let me pull up Google, and if we do a site colon and then a site colon operator, and then paste the domain in, and we take a look, you can see it's not indexed at all, and it's probably because it's been dropped for some time. And so there's no way to tell. If it was a recently dropped domain and you do a site colon operator and it returns no results, then it was probably a de-indexed domain. But you can't tell that if it's been expired for any length of time, because if it's been expired for, let's say, 6 months, then chances are there's no pages left that are still in the index, because the index has been cleaned by Google, right? So the only thing that you can do is check the history of the domain. So if we go over to archive.org, we paste in the Wayback Machine, and then we take a look, and you can see that it looks like the last snapshot was in 2014, at the beginning, in January of 2014. So this has been an expired domain for some period of time now, for over 2 years, and that's why it's not going to show any results in the index, okay, because it's been dropped for a long time. But in a way, that's good. There's a couple things that I like when I see something like this, because if it's been linked to from, and here's something else we can do. Here's the other page that was linking to it, right? Let's go ahead and copy this and go back over here to the Wayback Machine and paste this one in as well. Click Browse History. And this one looks like it's only been snapshot 2015. Let's go take a look at the snapshot from that page. Okay. Well, sometimes what I'll do is I'll look at the backlinks that are pointing to the site, that are especially the ones that are giving this the domain that I'm researching the most power. I'll take a look at the backlinks and see how long they've been there. And if they've been there for 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 5 or 6 years, the backlink's been pointed to that domain, then I know most likely that backlink's never going to be removed. So that's a great, that's even on domains that only have like 1 or 2 referring domains pointing to them. In this case, it's just the one. If I was able to determine that backlink had been there for, let's say, 4 years, then most likely it's never going to be removed. So it's worth me buying that domain. Okay, if it was a recently placed backlink and then, you know, the site ends up expiring, then there's a chance it could be removed, and then that would make that domain useless. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but let's take a look at this 2014. Let's see what it looks like. So what I'm looking for here, guys, is to see if the site, since the last time it was an archive snapshot was taken, we're going to look at the most recent ones. Okay, so let's go back and see if it was a spam domain. Like if it was clearly, like a lot of the domains, or oftentimes you'll look at a domain, and if you look at the Wayback Machine, you'll be able to determine that an SEO had purchased it to use as a private blog network site. And you want to stay away from those. And you can also sometimes tell from backlink profiles. I'll share that with you when we look at another domain here in a minute. All right, let's go back because this thing's being stupid. Sometimes there are no snapshots. Let's go back to 2013. And we can always pick another domain too. Might have to. Come on. Things being slow. So that was a parked domain because that's a parking page. So that was, it looks like this domain has just been like squatted or something for a long time. Anyways, my point is I'm not seeing any clear evidence of spam. That's what I'm getting at with this one. It's only got one backlink, so it's very simple to research this. But so far, it looks like I don't see any spam. All right, let's go look at another one just so we can walk through this example. Maybe one that has more backlinks. Let's take a look. Referring domains, I think, is column D. Yeah. Let's find one with more referring domains. This one's got 20 referring domains. It looks like a trust flow of 13. So let's look at this one. All right. Trust flow at 12. You can see construction and maintenance is the top level trust topic that I was looking for. Okay, this might be a good one because it looks like it's some foreign language stuff too. All right, so in looking at this, I want to come down. I want to take a look at the anchor text profile. Looks like the anchor text profile is not spammed. What I mean by that is I'm not seeing a whole bunch of keyword anchors, anchor text links pointing at this. It looks like it's mainly naked URLs and brand anchors, which is always a good sign, guys. If you're looking at domains that have a significant amount of backlinks already pointed to them, you want to look for stuff that is not clearly SEO'd. Okay, you want to look for stuff that is mainly naked URLs and brand anchors, because that's very natural, which means it was most likely linked to naturally by sites in that industry, or topically relevant sites. If you start seeing a bunch of keyword anchors, then you know that it's clearly somebody was SEOing the site, and you want to stay away from those for the most part. Now you can see a lot of these are foreign backlinks, but it doesn't really matter to me as long as I'm on target here. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll still use those because it's a .com domain, so this might still be a good one. Something else I like to do is with Majestic. If you come over and you look at the map, I'll take a look and it'll show you where the backlinks are coming from, like where and if I see a domain that has a bunch of backlinks and it's got a bunch of them coming from Russia or China or North Korea, then I usually will just abandon that domain and go find another one. Okay, because even though I use a lot of SAPE links or Russian links in my SEO, in the SEO work that I do, I'm looking for domains that aren't already spammed by Russian links, because chances are it was done very poorly. Like the way that I use them is I'm very selective and very strategic about how I use them. So I don't want to already purchase a domain that has a bunch of Russian links built to it. Like I said, Russian, North Korean and Chinese links are usually ones that I'll stay away from. So if I see a bunch of dots lit up over here or in North Korea, then we know just to skip it and move on to another domain. All right. You can go to the anchor text page, take a look and see what the main anchor texts are. You can see that this one it looks really, really clean. So this looks like a good domain, even though it was some foreign whatever. I would still take a look at that. Let's look at one more. Oh, by the way, you always want to look at the Wayback Machine though too, because sometimes you can find evidence of it have been turned into a PBN site and then it was dropped. And if that's the case, okay, so that's not indexed. And if it had been dropped, if it was turned into a PBN site and then dropped, it's most likely because it had been de-indexed. All right, let's go to... All right, look how old this is, guys. This is 2016. The last snapshot was in 2008. That's insane. So that was 8 years ago. So it looks like 7.5 years ago was the last time there was a snapshot taken. This does not look like it was spam, does it? The CSS oftentimes defense of Christianity using resurrection. For whatever reason, a lot of times the CSS file doesn't get imported, so the sites will look broken like this, but it doesn't really matter. Let's go back another year. Whoops. Okay, well, that's good enough. I'd probably buy this domain. Yeah, the last snapshot that was showing was in 2008. Let's try January. Okay. So October of 2008. And it doesn't look spam. So I would go after that. I would probably purchase this domain. Go back to summary. Yeah, because that's not bad. 12 trust flow, proper target. There was anchor text profile looked fairly clean. The backlink profile looked okay, even though it was from foreign sites mainly. It doesn't really matter because the profile looked clean. The map looked good, and the archive of the last snapshot of the site looked like a legit site from back in 2008. So this is an old domain. The other thing that you can think about is, when you're looking at the backlink profiles, you can see inside of Majestic that what's called the URL flow metrics. That means the metrics of the actual page that is linking to the domain that you're looking at. So you can see that we've got a couple of them here, fairly high powered links. Like this one here has got a 24 trust flow coming from the URL of that, from the page that it's linked to. So if we click this open, take a look at it, we could find the link, which is right here, right? And we can see that this page, so we can translate it, see what this, thematic salon guidance to the study training. This must not be a very good translation. Anyways, we can see the link there, and then I could just double check the metrics of that page, and you can see the trust flow is 24, citation flow is 15. So this is that's a fairly strong link coming from here. All right. And again, if you wanted to, you could take a look at this page and look at this in the Wayback Machine to see how long those backlinks were there, because if it's been there since 2008, you know that backlink's never going to be removed, or chances are it'll never be removed. So let's take a look. This is saying we'll go back to 2010. And I'm not seeing it there, but that's what I would do, is just go check a few of the snapshots, guys, to see if I could find that link that's been there for a while. So let's go check the most recent. I'm not seeing it there either. Doesn't mean it's not there. I just haven't found it yet. So anyways, that's what I would typically do. But yeah, that looks like a decent domain. So I would end up purchasing that too. So hopefully that was helpful, Steve. That's basically the process I go through. It's a bit time consuming. That's why I only do it like if I'm like right now we're building, my team's building the XYZ domains. We're using those just because the number of sites that we're building is ridiculous right now. But when you find, and I'm using this, by the way, just so you guys know, I'm using this site over here called clickmeter.com. I just started using this service a few weeks ago, but I'm tracking all my clicks and everything through this because it's awesome. It gives you these awesome charts and everything that shows. It's really cool. It's Click Analytics. It's got a monthly subscription fee. There's a free level too, but you know, if you're doing enough of the sites, you're going to need a paid subscription. But I'm using this to track a bunch of clicks and things like that. So what I'm doing is when I start to identify some of the XYZ domains that are performing well, then we'll go out and purchase domains, spend the time researching domains that were in that niche already, that have some backlinks built to them and some age, and then purchasing those domains and then just recycling the content from the XYZ domains over to the .coms or .orgs or whatever, and rebuilding those sites. Only the sites that are performing the best. Okay, and that's what I'm doing right now because it seems better that way. It's more efficient. We can use the XYZ domains to find the low-hanging fruit. Once we find the low-hanging fruit, we go in and build on a domain that's got some juice already and some age and some topical relevancy, with just recycling the content from the XYZ domain that started to perform well. And now we've got a site that's damn solid, okay, that should stay up for a while and generate traffic. All right, next. That was a long one. Sorry, guys, but let's roll through the next few. Steve says, if using an expired domain, will the root and subdomains index quicker? Yes, usually, Steve. Also, we're still limited to 5 subs for an expired too. I don't mean limited, but best practices. Can we get away with more subs on expired as opposed to brand new domain? No, it doesn't matter, Steve. And I don't know who told you about a 5 sub limit. You can use, as far as I'm concerned, you can put as many subdomains on a domain as you'd like. I know there's opposing opinions on that, so just test. That's what I would say. Test. I don't have any problem putting more than 5 subdomains on one site. I don't typically do it with ATM sites because I'm using right now, like I said, cheap. I'm using XYZ domains, which are cheap enough to just buy more domains. Like right now, I'm sticking with between 2 to 3 subdomains per domain, and that's about it. But I've got money sites that I've got, 12, 14 subdomains on. So there's really no reason why you can't add more. And I've got money sites that have been up for 3 years now with multiple subdomains on them that produce a lot of revenue for me. Let's see. Can you also go through how to use the RSS feeds to help the pages index quicker? Also, can you show how to set up silo structure using lead Gadget as it stands right now? Maybe project supremacy demo setup. Okay, first of all, I'm not going to show a project supremacy demo setup because I'm not using that on my ATM sites, and I'm certainly not going to. We won't need it here in a few weeks, anyways. So I'm not going to do that, Steve. Sorry, apologize, but that's not going to happen. Setting up silo structure using lead Gadget as it stands right now, you can't, Steve. There's no way to do that because there is no silo structure ability when you're building an ATM site. The closest you can come, which is it's not silo structure at all, but the closest you could come would be to link from any city page up to a category page, which would be your full state, right? Like if you're doing a US national build, then your categories are going to be full state, right? So the only thing that you could do is code in a link in the content, a contextual link in your build when you're creating the page, that you use short codes to have it always link from whatever city page it's on, city post that it's on, up to the top level category page. That's the only thing you could do. So it's just an internal linking structure that is trying to mimic silo structure, but it's not silo structure. That's the only thing that you could do, though. Okay. It's just the limitations of the way that the site's build. So in order to show you what that would look like, and I'm going to kind of pull this off the top of my head. I've done this in the past and I didn't see any noticeable difference. So it's not really worth the effort, in my opinion. You can test though if you'd like, but I'm just trying to remember how I did it. Get more specific info here. And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head how I did this, because it took me a little while to, and I had to attempt it with multiple builds to get it just right. So I'm probably not going to be able to work this out in front of you today, but I can go look at some of my past builds where I did this and copy the HTML out of it and show you that way. But it would be like something like get more specific info here, and this would be this would actually end up being, let's get more info about, you would have a keyword short code here. Okay. And then what we would do is actually wrap this in. So it would be ahref. This would be the US full state. Hopefully this isn't confusing you guys. Let's see, US full state. And this would actually be the domain. You'd have to code this in. Yeah, and I remember now. It was a pain in the ass because I had to have a separate, that's right. I had to create a separate custom list shortcode that had full state. Wait a minute. I'm trying to remember how I did this. I can't remember how I did this. I'll have to go back and take a look at the code. But it was domain.com/category/ and then the short code there, US full state. And so whenever whenever it would build, the site would build, it would pull the full state out and link this part up to the short code, or excuse me, the keyword. Go back. It was something like this. I'll go back, Steve, and look through some of my past builds if I can identify one. Now that I have to go dig one up, but I'll go find the exact code. But it was something like this. Okay. And that way what it would do is when it would build this link in at the bottom of the code, I would usually just put this at the bottom of the article. And it would just, so for every single post, it would end up linking to the top level category page, the full state page. In other words, the full state category page for every post within that state. And if I was doing a statewide build, it would be, I would end up using counties. It would be the state counties would be, so all the posts within the cities, you know, the city posts would link up to the county page, because I would use counties as the categories, if that makes sense. But for US national build, it was something like this. All right. And that way, by the way, the anchor text would vary from page to page as well. It would be keyword anchor text, but it would link up to that category page. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it was something like that. And that's the only thing that you can do. RSS feeds. Well, there's not really anything you can do with the RSS feeds to help it index any faster, because there's limitations with the RSS feeds. The RSS feed of a site is typically only going to show the 10 most recent items, right? And so you can go in and change that, but a lot of RSS directories and aggregators won't accept feeds with any more than like 20 or 25 items in them anyways. Like they'll limit the amount of items that it will accept from an RSS feed. So there's really no sense in making it any bigger anyways. So once you've deployed a site, if you take a look at domain.com/feed, you're going to see that it's only going to show the 10 most recent posts anyways. So you can go submit that RSS feed to directories and aggregators, and that'll get some additional spiders coming to crawl the site, but it's only going to crawl those 10 items from the RSS feed. And so unless you've got, you know, it's not really going to help that much. I've tested it. You can do it if you'd like, but to me, the tiny amount of benefit that you get for the extra work that it takes to go submit the RSS feeds, to me, isn't worth it. Okay. Okay, we're almost done. That's cool, because I only got 20 minutes left. Reading over your ATM process outline, I noticed your VAs changed the WordPress site to www and the site address during the cleanup, along with adding some other plugins. Can you take us through your cleanup process live? No, I can't, Steve, because I'm not showing any of my live sites anymore. I don't have a demo site set up. Maybe I can set up a demo site for next week, but I don't show any of my live sites anymore on webinars because every time I've done them, they've been de-indexed. Only the sites that I've shown on webinars. So I just refuse to do that anymore. If I set up a demo site, maybe. But anyways, the process that I have, guys, it's been refined a few times since that doc that I shared, but that's the process that I use. Obviously, when things change or we add new plugins or take plugins away, then I have to update my working procedures for my virtual assistants. So it's a living, breathing document. In other words, it gets updated regularly. It gets modified regularly. But you guys, I gave you the format that I use to train my virtual assistants so that you have it. And I'm not going to share my updated documents every time I update it, because honestly, you guys should be doing this for your own business anyways. Now that you have a template, you have a format that you can use. Just model that, create your own cleanup process, how you like to do it, and then give that to your virtual assistants. I recommend that you have working procedures for your tasks anyways, whether you have virtual assistants yet or not, because when just going through the process of documenting it's a process. In other words, going through the act of documenting your process is going to help you identify ways to become more efficient, because you'll find stuff that are redundant or things that are completely unnecessary that you can cut out, and it will help you to become more efficient, right? Plus, it gives you the ability at any point to hire a virtual assistant and hand them copies of your working procedures and train them to do exactly what it is that you do, that I know most of you here probably think you're irreplaceable. I used to think the same thing, but that's completely false. And you'll never scale your business if you do that. You need to be able to train other people to do stuff. And seriously, just going through the process of creating a working procedure document helps me to become more efficient at my own work. Plus, it gives me the ability to delegate. So unfortunately, I'm not going to show, at least not today, a live cleanup process. I also noticed that you do some extras when it comes to activating the sitemaps. Has this helped with indexing your lead gadget sites quicker? Well, Steve, yeah. I mean, I go through the process. I've mentioned many times before, when I was building the sites myself, I would connect each site to a Google Search Console or formerly Webmaster Tools account. I would use multiple Google accounts, but I would connect them and then go submit the sitemaps to Search Console. I don't do that anymore because we're doing too much volume, and what I'm doing now with my virtual assistants is I'm having them generate the sitemaps, open up each one of the sitemaps. So remember the trunk, if it's a 30,000 post site, it'll end up giving you 7 post sitemaps at 5,000 site. It's because it ends up being like 30,200 posts or something like that. So you end up with 7 sitemaps at 5,000 sitemaps for the first 5. You guys know what I'm saying. Like there's a tag. I guess it's 6 sitemaps because it's 6 post sitemaps, 1 tag sitemap, and then I do the category sitemap as well. So it ends up being a total of, I think, 9 sitemaps in total. But I have them open up each one of those and then copy the URLs out of the sitemap and then paste them into a text file. Well, they put it into an Excel file first, and then they just pull out that one column that has just the URLs for the posts or tag URLs or category page URLs or whatever. And then they're submitting them to an express indexer. That's the only way that we can get anything, especially with us doing the XYZ domains that are taking longer to index, like considerably longer than .coms do. And so we're trying to help it along a little bit. So, if you're doing stuff manually, I recommend connecting the Search Console. I don't care what anybody else in the Lead Gadget crew says. That's what I've been doing. When I build the sites, myself, I'll connect them to Google Sites or Google Search Console. Just don't do it all under one account. If you do it all under one account and you end up getting all your sites de-indexed, then don't come back and blame me. I'm giving you fair warning. If you're going to be connecting to Search Console, just use different Google accounts. Don't put any more than 2 sites in any one account. Okay, but it absolutely helps with indexing, I've found. But again, guys, if you're doing volume, it doesn't really matter. So the ATM process outline ends with you explaining about pasting the sitemap URLs into the Excel spreadsheet, but the document ends right there. Is there anything missing? Oh, well, probably just the remaining part where I have it sent to the indexing service that I'm using. So All right, so let me just use an Excel file. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me open up a new Excel file. Hold on a minute. All right, so let's say that we have HTTP. All right, so we're going to simulate. Here, let's do this. Data. All right, so what happens is I have the virtual assistants. Let's just stop there. I have the virtual assistants generate each sitemap. So I think it's 9 tabs that open up. I think it's 6 sitemap, post sitemaps pages, right? And then a tag sitemap page and a category sitemap page or whatever. So I think it's a total of 9. What they'll do is they'll open up each one of those on a separate tab. They just go to the very, very top of the page. It's in Firefox so that you can they can see that it shows all the links and everything. They go over there, they copy the entire page, and then they paste it into an Excel file. And because it's basically tab delimited when they copy it from the browser. Okay, so they paste it into Excel because Excel will separate the columns, and and then all they'll do is come back through and copy the one column that contains just the post or page URLs. Eliminate the rest of the data because that's useless stuff. We don't need it. It's just when we copy the page. Then they copy the column with the URLs and put it into a notepad file. Let's make sure font is at 10. Okay, they post it in here. Then they go open up the next tab, or they go look at the next tab that has the next sitemap in there and do the same thing. They copy the full sitemap page, they paste it into Excel, then they extract just the domain the URL column, and then they come back over and paste it into the same text file just at the bottom. So by the time they're done, they end up having like roughly 36,000 URLs in the text file because it's 30,200 or whatever for the posts, then it's 5,000 for the tags, and then it's like 52 or whatever for the categories. So it comes out to be roughly 35,500 or something like that URLs. And then it's all in the text file here. And then they save the text file as a file on their computer. And then they go open up the Express Indexer submit URL tool that then, and basically, and I can show you what that looks like, but you guys will have to get your own account at Express Indexer. So just a minute. There is this little tool right here. This is how simple it is. That's why I like it. It's simple. There's an Express Indexer submission tool here. You click Browse. You go locate the actual text file that you saved that has all of your sitemap URLs in it, or excuse me, all the URLs that were extracted from the sitemaps. And then you click Submit Batch, and that's it. From there, it will actually go through the little process here and submit all 35,000 plus URLs to the indexer. So that's the only difference that that you didn't see in the working procedure that I had shared with you. All right. Anyways, let's see. There's just a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let's make sure I didn't miss any. No, good. Okay. Paul says, Bradley, related to expired domains, I purchased one blindly a few weeks back. No pages indexed. How do I go about checking the usefulness to see if the domain name isn't blacklisted or penalized? What tools can help? And will the subs be penalized as well? I built 5 and they haven't indexed any pages. Yeah, if the root domain is penalized, then none of the subdomains will index. That's why I recommend using it, but it's not the same. Like, typically a subdomain can be de-indexed and it won't affect the root domain or any of the other subdomains. But if you get if there's a penalty against a root domain or it's de-indexed, then it's going to affect all subdomains as well. So that's why I try to protect the root. And that's in fact why when I build sites on root domains, which I didn't used to do at all, but I'm doing it now because of my VAs building so many sites. We're building on the root domain, but as soon as the site is deployed, we switch it to the www version of it, which makes it act like a subdomain. Okay. But yeah, if the root domain's already been penalized or de-indexed, then you could build 100 subdomains, none of them are going to get indexed, right? Because it's the root domain. It's a domain-wide penalty. Subdomain, a penalty is usually specific to just that subdomain. It's not domain-wide. It's subdomain specific. But domain-wide penalties will affect anything that's attached to that domain, be it subdomains or pages or posts. Okay. As far as, like I said, for blacklisted, penalized, there's no way for me to tell other than to do exactly what we walked through earlier. That's just go take a look at the backlink profile, the anchor text ratio pointed to the domain, look at the map in Majestic to see where the links are coming from. If they're coming from a lot of Russian, Chinese, or North Korean links, then chances are, they could be penalized. Also, go to the Wayback Machine, take a look at the snapshots, go look at recent snapshots, like the most recent snapshots before the domain was dropped. And then keep going back further and further and until you and just kind of look at the history of the domain. If you see that it had changed hands and changed content multiple times, it had been like gone from one industry type of domain to another industry type of domain to another, chances are it's a burned domain. You don't want it. Or if you see that it was one industry for a long time, then it dropped, and then when it came back, it was like looking like a blog, then it was a PBN site at one point, and it was probably dropped because it was de-indexed or penalized, right? So you just kind of look at the Wayback Machine and kind of look at the history, the evolution of the domain. If it remained consistent and then it just all of a sudden dropped, chances are that it's an okay domain. But sometimes you'll purchase expired domains, guys, and you'll go build out on them because all signs show there's no indication of it being spammed or de-indexed or penalized, and you still purchase it, build out a site, and it's penalized. You won't know unless you connect it to Search Console. But if you connect a penalized domain to Search Console, it will give you in the manual spam actions notifications area of Search Console, it'll give you the message saying that whatever penalty has been levied against that domain. And so there have been times, it's not often, but there are times that I buy expired domains that by all indications look to be clean. And then I've built the domain out and connected it to Search Console, and I've seen the manual spam action notification saying that it was, pure spam or thin content or, unnatural links or whatever the manual spam action was that was levied against that domain. Okay. Sometimes that happens. So what I recommend doing is if you've got a particular domain that you purchased and you've built out and you're having trouble getting anything indexed at all on that domain, is that you go open up a new Google account that you can use if you don't already have some spare Google accounts, which everyone probably should at this point have some spare Google accounts, but go connect that site to Search Console in one of your other Google accounts, not your main Google account, but one of your other Google accounts. And then once you've connected it, just give it 24 hours and then go check this in Search Console for under the notifications and then the manual spam actions. Go check that, and it will tell you within 24 hours if there had been any manual penalty applied to the domain. It will show in Search Console in that notification area. Okay, and then you'll know for sure. I mean, there's no point in wasting time building out more subdomains on a site hoping that one of them are indexed if the domain itself has been penalized, because it'll never work and you're just wasting time. So that's why, in my opinion, it's better just to go ahead and build potentially on the root and change it to the www version of it, and then wait to see if anything starts indexing on the domain. If it does, then great. Go ahead and start building subdomains because it's not de-indexed. But if it doesn't, after you've built on the root and you've waited for a couple weeks or whatever, and still nothing's being indexed, then I would go connect it to Search Console and check for that manual spam action notification. Okay, because that'll save you loads of time. All right, Michael says, hi, Bradley. I spent some time this week reviewing your training on local builds and local feeder experiment done last fall. Could you make some comment to update your opinion as to success and any changes you would make today as a result of what you learned? I want to focus on dominating some hyperlocal markets down to the neighborhood level It will require building a more detailed local area custom list. Yeah, the feeder site that I did had 0 results. Like, it didn't produce any noticeable results of any sort. So that's why I know I've talked about this before, Michael. You might have missed it. But yeah, that for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I built out a site that was like, I think it was just a county-wide site, or maybe it was a couple counties. But it was really, really detailed. Like, and I don't know, it was crazy because I can't remember how many keywords it was now, but it was a lot, and it was covered across. It was a very hyper local site that covered a ton of keywords, and I was using it to link to another site that I had done to see if it would have any effect on ranking the site that I was linking to. And it didn't. It absolutely had no effect whatsoever. That whole experiment performed very, very poorly. I found the tree service industry is not very responsive to the ATM site builds, because I do a lot of tree service lead gen with using traditional SEO methods, and the ATM sites have not been successful in that industry for me at all. Not in my state anyways, which is Virginia. So that whole experiment just performed really poorly, Michael. And that's why I haven't, I'm not pursuing that anymore. To be honest with you, I love what I'm doing now with what Brian teaches, which is just to build more and more sites and stop trying to reinvent the wheel with this, which I tried to do for many months. I tried to improve the process by trying all these different experiments, which is cool. I enjoyed doing it anyways. I like doing that kind of stuff. But I found that nothing outperformed, with any noticeable difference. I would probably have been better spent. My time would have been better spent to have just built more and more sites using the methods that are already taught. And so Brian is absolutely correct in instead of spending time creating these crazy types of site builds, just spend more time building more sites. And you'll end up, because some will stick, some won't. The ones that stick, then you can build upon that. You can scale that, right? So anyways, as far as building out custom lists, yeah, that's the challenge when you're doing the hyper local sites like that. Michael, I'm not saying don't experiment. I'm just letting you know that personally, I got away from doing that because it wasn't producing any better results than if I were to just like the amount of time that it took me to develop that test. I could have probably built 10 or 12 sites for that same area using just more traditional building techniques, instead of coming up with the build techniques that I did for that one. And out of those 12 sites, I probably would have had better results from 1, 2, 3 of those sites than I would have for all the time that it took me to develop that one test. And granted, one test is not enough to determine whether a method is successful or not. If I had more time, I would have liked to have tested that across multiple niches instead of just the one niche, because it might have been very successful in another niche. But personally, like I said, the way that I'm building now is I'm building just volume instead of and just using the traditional what's been taught so far in lead gadget techniques, and it works because some stick, some don't. All right. Using sites for backlink purposes, using ATM sites for backlink purposes, I found to be useless. So just build the sites, and if you want to go hyper local and stuff, by all means do that. But using sites as like supporting sites or feeder sites, in other words, backlinking sites or link sites to build links to other sites, it's pretty much useless. I don't do any backlink building to my sites at all, guys, anymore. I tested that for a little bit. I just don't see the point. Just build more sites. Some will perform well without any backlinks. Joy says, what are some good sites for expired domains? Joy, the only thing that I'm using right now for here, I'll give you the URL. The only thing that I'm using, let's see. Okay. I'm using a domain crawler. I'm pretty sure this is it. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure that's it. The page is slow as hell, but yeah, it looks like that's it. All right. Yeah, this is it, Joy. I'm using a domain crawler. because that way I can find domains that are on target, on topic, that have the relevancy that I'm looking for. Blue Chip Backlinks is the name of it. And Terry Kyle is the developer of this product, and it's $97 a month, but it is absolutely worth it because I'm using it to find domains. Like, for example, this is one of the I think it's once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, he'll come out with a list of topical or trust flow 10 plus domains. And this is the list from the end of March. I haven't updated it recently, but it's like once every week or once every 2 weeks. And this has got this one right here has 7,952 domains in it. And these are all top trust flow 10 plus. But then, like, what I do is I go sort by the topical trust flow topic 0 category, which is this over here, column M. And this allows me to go right to the type of topic that I need the domain for. And then I can just go pull up those domains and go do a search on them. You can also go crawl your own domains. In other words, you can find properties that, websites that are in your niche and go have the domain crawler crawl them and look for broken links on the site. And any broken link that it finds, it will go cross-reference it in Namecheap to see if the name is available for registration, the domain. And then if it's available, it'll pull it into Blue Chip Backlinks and give you the Majestic SEO metrics for it right inside the dashboard. And so you can go find your own domains that are already topically relevant to the industry that you're building sites for, and that have metrics already, trust flow metrics, inbound, inbound links, all that. So it's very, very powerful. I've tried several domain crawlers, guys, and I can't say enough good things about Blue Chip Backlinks. So that's what I'm using. You can buy domains just from like domain list sites. Like, for example, expireddomains.net is one of them. But the problem with that is you're looking at metrics only when you're looking at sites like that, because they don't show you the topical relevance of the domains. You have to find that out through your own investigation, your own research, right? Your own due diligence. But with Blue Chip Backlinks, you can find the topical relevance very, very quickly. It's displayed right within the dashboard, is my point. Or if you download the list of domains like this one, for example. So it cuts the time down considerably. All right. All right, last question, and then we're done. Joy says, hey, Brad, where do I find your other training? Looking for the best way to do a pack list to take over some geo-targeted areas. Want to see what you recommend, keyword, city, zip, etc. Joy, all the training that I have done is on the Lead Gadget YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com/Lead Gadget, or I'm not sure if there's a custom domain. Just go to YouTube and search Lead Gadget at the very top. And just go over to the channel. So you click on the channel, and you should see over here under videos, you'll see that we have playlists right here on the home page. Some of these are old because some of these were from over a year ago now. But if you just go to the videos tab, you can see all the videos in here. If you have something in particular that you want to look for, use the YouTube search feature. Okay, so when you're on the YouTube channel, right here, there's a little spyglass icon. This is to search channel. So if you click on that, it will bring open this text field where you can type in the different search queries and click search, and it will search just the videos on this channel. Okay. So for example, if you wanted to say, I don't know, we'll say custom lists. This is going to show all the videos that have custom lists mentioned in them somewhere. Okay. So you can see this here. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have anything particular for next week about that, just, if you have something you can't find that you need asked or answered, or you need a demonstration, just ask me and I'll take care of it for you next week. Okay, guys, that's it. It's 8:30. I've got to go. Thanks for everybody being here. This was another good session. We will see you all next week for another webinar.